What they're telling the police officers, what they're telling the rioters, and what they're telling the country is it's okay to burn down our city. It's okay to burn down our neighborhoods. It's okay to loot our stores, primarily in minority neighborhoods, ironically. It's okay to do this because people are upset. I'm Dr. Nuke with The New American, and this is my take on the news. My friends, we are in a constitutional crisis here. We are in an existential threat to America, the American Republic. What's going on in the streets of America today, this unchecked, reckless rioting, this dangerous anarchy, which is being not just abetted by Democrat mayors, Democrat governors, Democrat politicians, it's actually being pushed and promoted. We are in a situation now where you have a significant number of the country, and I'm talking primarily about Democrats and progressives, who see anarchy as a legitimate way, lawlessness, violence, looting, robbing, beating people senseless. They see this as a legitimate tool to achieving what they call social justice. Let us just step back for a second and consider all of the hypocrisies and all of the double standards and all of the contradictions of the current progressive position when it comes to the so-called Floyd riots. First, let's talk about Joe Biden, who came out today and said, all of this crisis, all of this rioting, it shows that America is crying out for leadership, and that if you elect him, he will bring leadership and healing to the situation. Well, wait a second. Joe Biden is as doctrinaire a Democrat, he is as predictable a progressive as anybody else who ran for Democrat president this year. Do you really think that there will be a major difference between how Joe Biden would govern this country with regards to these riots and the mayor of Minneapolis did? Or Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, did? Or the mayor of Chicago's doing? In fact, Joe Biden is exactly those people. He is going to govern exactly the same way, which means what he means by leadership is leaderlessness. He is going to apologize to the rioters. He is going to continue to equate protester with rioter. This is one of the most galling aspects of this. That in the progressive mind, the difference between protester and rioter, protester and anarchist, protester and thug has been completely elided away into nothing. If you put Joe Biden as president of this country, you're going to get the same Obama policies neglected for 8 years that gave rise to this particular chaos. And you mentioned Donald Trump, Biden, implying that he doesn't govern. He is governing exactly correctly. If he forced troops or National Guardsmen to occupy cities and states, you would be screaming habeas corpus. You would be screaming that the federal government is taking revolutionary steps, is sending the army to oppress the American people. Donald Trump does not have the authority by himself to send those troops. And so this is the part of the problem here, right? That you've got him both, you think you've got him both ways, progressive. He has been saying the right things. He has ordered the governors, he's ordered these mayors to get their act together, to enforce law and order, or he'll do it. And his point is that as president, I am not going to let the whole country burn. If absolutely necessary, and if you Democrat leaders, because this is the thing, these are all Democrat states, blue states, Democrat cities with blue mayors. These cities and states have been blue for a long time. Places like New York and Minnesota and California. And so this is not a Republican problem. This is not a right-wing problem. This is not a conservative problem. It is primarily a progressive problem. And he's telling these feckless governors and mayors, get your act together, or we will be forced to intercede. We are not going to let the whole country burn down this way. And the contrast between Biden's cluelessness and the policies of those Democrat governors and mayors. I mean, here's the thing that gets me on top of all of this. You got Andrew Cuomo, who presided over the most deaths from coronavirus of any city or state in the country, and one of the worst mortality rates in the entire world. Democrat governor, Democrat mayor of the city of New York, de Blasio, and they're actually lecturing us about how the rest of the country has failed to lead, how Donald Trump has failed to lead. You stop and think about what we're doing to our police officers. This is absolutely unconscionable. We are sending police officers into these riot zones, and we are telling those police officers, you are not allowed to respond. If you respond, if you pull your guns or if you try to arrest rioters and looters, if somebody spits on you or throws bottles at you or throws bricks at you, your job is to stand there and take it. This is absolutely medieval. This is collective punishment. What you've decided, these Democrat mayors and governors, they've decided that the entire police forces of these states and cities must pay penance for what one bad cop did, or a handful of bad cops over the last 4 or 5 years have done. You're taking the entire police department, you're standing them on the streets, you're telling them that they cannot leave, they will stand there, and they will take this abuse, and if they try to react to this abuse, you're going to fire them. As happened in Atlanta. Atlanta imposed a curfew. There were 2 African-American young people in a car. They drove into a place where they were clearing everybody out. They were in a car, potentially dangerous. The car was stopped. The kids were dragged out of the car, and they were put in detention because they had violated the curfew in a potentially dangerous way. The mayor of Atlanta fired those police officers for doing their job. We have other police officers who have bricks thrown at them. We had a situation in New York where a cop was being immediately threatened with violence, and he pulled his gun. The first impulse of de Blasio was to fire that police officer until the broader footage showed that he was well within his rights to defend himself. What does this mean that we are in Minneapolis? We have a situation where a police officer's precinct was burnt to the ground. You had all sorts of police in it when they were trying to burn it down. The police were forced to abandon their own precinct and run away rather than engage the arsonists. This is remarkable. It is unconscionable. You are literally, what do I mean by medieval? You're telling all the American police forces in these big Democrat strongholds, you will stand there. You will take it. You will take the abuse. You will watch as the city burns. You will watch as people are beaten senseless. You will watch as news crews are harassed by hooligans who aren't there to protest, who are there to loot and riot. And you will watch this as punishment for what Officer Chauvin did to Mr. Floyd. You're going to watch this. You will pay for this. And the thing that is so frustrating about this is it's collective punishment for everybody for what a few bad eggs have done. And if these Democrat governors and mayors were absolutely honest, what they're telling the police officers, what they're telling the rioters, and what they're telling the country is it's okay to burn down our city. It's okay to burn down our neighborhoods. It's okay to loot our stores, primarily in minority neighborhoods, ironically. It's okay to do this because people are upset. So if that's how you feel, mayor of Minneapolis, if that's how you feel, Andrew Cuomo in New York, if you really feel that this rioting, because you have made it abundantly clear that you believe this, the rioting, the violence, the beatings, the threats, the intimidation, you believe this is all justifiably a response to what happened to Mr. Floyd. If you believe that, why don't you have the guts to pull the cops off the street altogether? Tell the police, instead of standing them up there to be ridiculed and impotent, why not just tell the police to stay home? You've already conceded that you're okay with your cities burning. You're okay with people being beaten, with news teams being harassed. You're okay with violence that in some cases have led to death, beatings that leave people in comas. You've decided that rather than let the police defend their own precinct buildings, in the name of your perverse sense of social justice, it's okay. So then take the cops off the street. Send a real message. Send the real message you want to send. Better looted, pillaged, raped, and burned down communities than the presence of police. Even though, as you know, and we all know, it's a very, very, very small number of police who engage in this kind of bad behavior.